It's almost like we're getting good at these intros, folks. How are you doing today? Welcome back to Soaring Profits. A couple tech gurus around here. Well, at least one of us is. That guy right there. Folks, as always, welcome back. Thank you again for joining us. Going live tonight, planning a live tomorrow night with a lovely lady, Montana. She's a small business owner here in the area. And we're going to talk a little bit about some of her business stuff, some of the things that she's got, little side projects, recently purchased a new cottage, and what the Airbnb process and that looks like, what kind of business opportunities potentially there might be. And are you drinking a beer on me?
I am. Yeah. I have it in a black nondescript. It's actually vodka.
I've demanded already, folks. We're not even a minute in.
Yeah, well, I figure it'll be a smoother conversation. No, I'm looking forward to talking Montana. I've heard a lot of great things about her. I have, in fact, not met her, but I've heard some wonderful things, and I hope to go check out her business sometime because it sounds fabulous. If I remember.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. And the business that they've grown down there is amazing.
Yeah.
Taking it from a very small business to now employing, I think she's got about 30 staff. Multi-million-dollar operation that kind of sprung up over a love of food and carrots, basically. It was just kind of.
If I understand right, it started like pretty much at COVID level, ground zero.
So they had planned opening prior to COVID. COVID was, well, we'll have these conversations tomorrow, but I think COVID was a great opportunity for them because they really focused on community and what that looked like and bringing the community together. So she's fantastic. She's kind of like us, is a great talker. We differ very on a lot of the political stuff, so I'm sure we'll dive into that sort of thing. So it'll be great. Yeah, have some fun with it.
I can't wait to hear it. So what I want to talk about,
here we go.
In my mind, which isn't normally in my mind. Normally I'm thinking a bit loftier, fun. But Nancy Pelosi.
Easy for you to say.
Not easy for me to say. So now I'm really confused. Like, first, NATO, like, it's not NATO's fault. It's not Ukraine's fault. Russia attacked Ukraine. COVID is just ending. The recession is huge. Life is not great. Is this a really good time for a political leader to pick a fight with China? Now, I know that once she said she was going to Taiwan. I get that. You cannot back down to government's pressure to say you're not going. I 100% get that. But was there no one in the government, like I'm sure she has an advisor or 2 or 12, that said, this I see on your list here, you're going to Taiwan. Do you think maybe that's a bad idea right now? Do you think, like, are we doing enough, like, fighting and division?
So my viewpoint on Taiwan is probably a little bit interesting. And so kind of the backstory of China and Taiwan. So Taiwan used to be, we'll call it almost a colony of Manchuria and of China. So going back historically, they were Chinese and under Chinese rule. So after World War II, so Japan invades at the time Manchuria. All of the shit show that spirals after that. Literally millions of people starve during the war. It's a bit of a shit show. I'm not a big fan of communism, but Taiwan gains some form of independence. They become a democratic nation in and of themselves, and they
do not want to join the communist China.
Right. So China has never stopped feeling that they are a Chinese entity, that they are that. If you ask Taiwanese people, they are not Chinese. They are Taiwanese. Yeah. And the national entity of an identity of the Taiwanese people is incredibly strong. It is a very strong self-identifying nation. The problem is that it's a pretty small little island in the middle of the Pacific, and really it doesn't have a hope in hell if Chinese really invades.
Well, under my understanding, which is little because I'm not a political guy, America has a long-standing relationship with them and has agreed through treaties and stuff like that if they were ever attacked, that they would lend military aid. Yeah. So it sounds kind of like they do what they kind of did for Ukraine, send weapons, but on what I understand is they actually send tanks and boats and stuff like that. It's a little bit more than just sending weapons.
Right.
But I don't know. I'm kind of asking, kind of, this is what my understanding is.
Yeah. So anything to do with China, as opposed to Russia, China doesn't talk much about geopolitical projects and plans.
Yeah.
And hasn't for 35 or 40 years.
No.
So when you go and you look at why China is now seeking this geopolitical reach out, Taiwan is one of the largest manufacturers of semiconductors in the world. So we've talked around. So remember how you couldn't buy a car all last year?
Yep.
Because there was no semiconductors.
Okay.
So as silly as this sounds, China being a manufacturing superpower the way that they are, the semiconductor business is so engineering heavy and so specialized at this point in construction that China in and of itself does not have the prowess to be able to produce these products.
Right.
So there's a bit of so semiconductors are in everything. Your light switches, there's thousands of them in your cars. Your houses are surrounded by hundreds and hundreds, and if not hundreds of thousands of them in your daily life.
Right.
And they are basically the tiny little brain in electronics that go power, no power, power, no power.
Right.
So if you want to roll up your window in your car, there might be 50. You got one at the switch, you have one at the mechanism. Like there's a shit ton of them that go through here. Yeah. So there is a company that's actually called Taiwan Semiconductors that is based in Taiwan, i.e. the name, that manufactures the world's hub of semiconductors. Okay. So a lot of nations, because they're unable to create these products back home, the United States being a bit of an exception, because most of the investment that has allowed Taiwan semiconductors to be produced has come from the United States, right?
Okay.
So this all comes from the reconstruction after World War II. So you had Japan, after we nuked them and after they lost the war, we win.
Very real way. Yeah.
Right. So afterwards, we made a deal with a lot of Southeast Asian nations. We, as in Western culture, Western society, we said, hey guys, listen, that was messy. We don't want to do that again. But what we're willing to do for you is we're willing to make a deal where we're going to allow you to make electronics. So you guys are going to become the electronics hub of the world. So if you were to go back 35 or 40 years and you had a toy from China, it was a rinky-dinky little shitty little thing, right?
Yeah.
It was plastic, it was garbage, it was all that. Well, now China has evolved. Taiwan, Korea, the Philippines, these countries have evolved their manufacturing prowess into no longer rinky-dinky stuff, into high tech, right? So Korea is a fantastic example of this. If you look at like the city of Seoul in South Korea, they are one of the manufacturing hubs for electronic goods, and it allowed their population to boom and build a middle class, right? So we did that through our Western technologies, sending over our designs, our engineers designed here for manufacturing. China has always been a bit of a rip-off artist, where they take anything that you send into China, it gets copied a million-fold.
Make a knockoff. Yeah.
Right. Get your knockoffs, right?
Yeah.
So why Taiwan is a hotbed right now is because as we go to a more digital workforce, a more digital work environment, life environment, more and more and more semiconductors are pivotal.
Right.
Pivotal.
Yeah.
So this is becoming the 21st century oil in a lot of ways.
Right.
Okay. So China looks at it as, well, there are people anyways, right? Like they're going to welcome us with open arms.
Yeah, it's part of our country, sure.
Right. They're going to welcome us with open arms if we invade, like the Ukrainians were going to.
Because they're under foreign, the foreign have taken them over, and we have to seize them, and
that's it. Yeah. That's where this ends up getting dicey. Now, Pelosi, I'm not a fan of Nancy Pelosi. I think Nancy Pelosi arguably is just an absolute terrible politician. I think she makes very poor judgments.
Made a lot of mistakes over the last 2 years. Tons.
So Nancy Pelosi now has put herself in a position where she almost set herself up to be a bit of a martyr if Russia decides to pull the trigger.
Mhm.
Because if something was to happen before she gets back, it would be a guaranteed war.
It would be the assassination of the emperor in World War One.
Yeah, Franz Ferdinand. Yeah,
Yeah, totally. It's like it's the one thing that would Canada would get involved, like everyone would get involved,
and
yeah.
we would be justified. So right now, I would argue the degree in which society wants to go to war anywhere else, like even the Ukraine, right? I would argue tomorrow, like we've been publicized that the Ukraine, that we're saving people and it's a humanitarian crisis, and the Russians are terrible. But I would argue 97.89543% of Canadians are not willing to go over and even help.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas if Nancy Pelosi's plane gets blown out of the water, it becomes the Pearl Harbor. It becomes 9/11. It becomes that thing. I'm not saying that China is going to do that. I've talked about this before in what my viewpoint is on China, and I really do feel that they are in a position right now. It's almost to the point where they have nothing left to lose.
Right.
So that's what becomes scary.
Yeah. But that's what you were saying about Russia just before they attacked Ukraine. You're like, Russia is in a position where they have nothing left to lose. This is their last kind of kick at the can to try and get control.
So I think
China has the same is in the same situation where they've been locked down like arbitrarily for quite a while, way worse than what we had.
Years.
Yeah, way worse than what we had.
Yeah, years.
Mm-hmm.
My issue with China, and where I think so, the United States has had a policy, a national defense policy for a number of years called the One China policy. It's worth a Google, check it out. And what it is that they view China as a bit of a sleeping dragon, is how they view it, right? Is that if China is to rise and if they are going to become a geopolitical threat, which the United States for the foremost believe that they are the largest threat to the United States way of life. Right. Their viewpoint is that the first target is Taiwan. So in an empire building type scenario, because that's kind of how most of these wars start, is somebody pisses on somebody else, and then the Americans are like, you can't do that. Only we can do that.
But we're allowed to do that. We're the only ones allowed now. Yeah.
So the issue becomes, and here's where I don't have a lot of concerns about China as far as World War III kicking off. And like the same thing I said with Russia. I said Russia's probably going to invade Ukraine, but this is not going to start World War III, right? In and of itself, right?
Yeah, and there have been no indicators that it will. Like for a little bit, it was touch and go, but now that we're at this end of it, it's going to come to some sort of resolution, I'm sure.
Right.
Yeah.
So my thing with China becomes China. And we've talked briefly of this. China is going to have a real problem feeding their people in the next 10 years. Okay. Yeah. So we're going through a situation right now. This is something that we'll chat with Montana about tomorrow, because she's in this and she's seeing it firsthand. The food shortages that are already starting. And it was funny. I was chatting with her the other day before we were coming on about talking about this. And I had talked about someone like the geopolitical stuff.
Right.
And she said to me, she's like, yeah, we're eating last year's grain right now, and we do not have the production ready. And I'm like, what? I've said that before.
Yeah, you totally did. Yeah.
Right. So
you're not wrong. That's exactly what's happening with droughts and floodings and.
Well, the biggest part is fertilizers.
And fertilizer. Yeah.
Right. So with oil prices the way that they were, I all you green folk out there, you crazy liberals. You guys don't understand that it's not just cars that run on petrol.
No, right? No, it's trains, planes, automobiles. It's everything. It's trucks.
It's plastic. It's your makeup. It's so many things touch and affect your lives that you guys are just, I'm not going to say ignorant, but you're ignorant of. Mm-hmm. See what I did there? Not going to say.
I don't think all liberals feel the same way. I think all liberals feel that there should be a environmental factor in politics. We should be looking at environment and how to solve it. I just think we should do it in a planned way that makes sense. To just all of a sudden like shut off things or stop things just arbitrarily with nothing in the back pocket to pull out and go, okay, yeah, so we used to do this, now we're going to do this, is ridiculous to me. I think we need to do it, but before we get rid of this that's been working for years and years and years, how about we have this? Because we don't have this. I have a few liberal friends that I talk to, and they're like, oh, but we have this. We have like windmills and solar, and that's great. It's still not enough to power anything.
Yeah.
Like it powers some.
Yeah.
Our dams power some things. But if you switch everyone in the country to electric cars, we're going to be burning coal.
Well, so that's a great example of what's happening in Germany right now. So Germany was in a situation where the Nord Stream pipeline, which is the pipeline that runs through the Baltic Sea from Russia to Germany,
right?
And I don't know the exact percentage, but an exorbitant amount of their fuel for their nation, heat, hydro, or heat, as well as fuel for vehicles, all of the things that they use oil for, was shut down for maintenance. Now, thankfully, Russia was good to their word and turned that pipe back on. Now, wait, I thought we weren't taking Russian oil anymore. Oh, wait, only if we need it.
If we
yeah. So the problem is Germany on paper has been this green darling of the world, where Germany has on paper 150% capacity of their grid in green energy. So they've got wind turbines, they've got solar. There's so many initiatives over the last 15 years to do all this in your communities, where the government has fit the bill for you, helping out geothermal stuff, right? All of these really interesting technologies. The problem is that, first of all, they are not a sunny nation.
Right.
And secondly, they are not a windy nation.
Right.
So you have 150% capacity. However, it really only functions at about a 10% load bear.
Sure. Yeah. So in Germany, those solutions that may work, like there's parts of Ontario that are very windy, and I watch the windmills, they're blowing quite nicely and gaining energy. But if you stuck them on the hill beside me here, it wouldn't work so well. Not at all. Nothing. I'd have to hand turn it. Yeah.
So this is the problem with where we are now, right?
Yeah.
China in and of itself is not an oil nation. They're not an oil-rich nation. They are absolutely dependent on the Middle East for oil reserves.
Sure.
The United States has left the Middle East as far as the protectionary nation that is making sure that trade occurs in and out of that area, right?
Right.
So we have no will to go back and send soldiers in to die to make sure that the Saudis continue their oil.
So they can keep their oil. Yeah.
Okay. So China is in a position right now where if they were decide to bomb Nancy Pelosi or to invade Taiwan, the Americans, if they wanted, and this is the critical piece that I think is super important, because I do think, and because I'm not a fan of the Democrats, and we have a Democrat president, and the election, like the polling numbers for Biden are abysmal.
They're pretty low.
Abysmal. Yeah. Like they make Trump look like a superstar. And they
that far. I think that people are fed up with how he led through the pandemic, and now the
29% approval ratings is the last one I heard a couple weeks ago. Okay. So in the United States, historically, wartime presidents, right?
Yeah.
They get reelected.
They do. Absolutely.
Right? So if the United States was in a position where arguably they wanted to pick a fight with the big bully on the street and something happened, right? The United States could go to war with China. However, it would be over very quickly. And
why do you think it would be over quickly?
Because the United States would park destroyers in the Middle East and cut their throats.
Oh, just stop them from having oil.
You would have nothing. The Chinese don't have the reserves or the capability to be able to process oil to go to war without trade. Right?
Does Russia have those capabilities?
Who?
Russia.
Russia can absolutely provide them.
Right.
But how many pipelines would it take to be bombed before they would be cut off? Right. And you have the entire world that's looking at Russia going, don't do it, man. Don't do it. You're on thin ice as it is, pal. Right? So when you think of the way that Russia and China bridge each other, okay, so the United States has the largest navy in the world by like 700%. Like it's not even close. Okay. They have destroyers and their naval fleet that the next largest is Japan. Well, Japan is off the coast of China, mainland China.
Right.
Right. So you have Japan that could go north, protecting a corridor for Russia, bombing there into mainland Russia. You have the United States who could roll around the horn and end up in the Middle East and cut it off in India. You have all of these nations that otherwise have a geopolitical plan to shut China down very quickly. So I don't think it ever gets there. I think you're going to see a lot of saber rattling. I think that you have a situation in China right now.
Today or yesterday, I can't remember what day. I'm sorry, but they started flying over to show military strength, apparently.
Right. Yeah. And that's what they'll do.
Yeah. And that's what, that's exactly what North Korea did when Trump was like blustering against North Korea. North Korea did very similar, shooting rockets. Like, I haven't heard of a rocket being shot since Trump left. But again, Trump is the only American president who's ever been in North Korea, but still.
Yeah. Yeah. So Trump went and visited North Korea, which is unheard of.
Unheard of.
Yeah, unheard of. Went to the demilitarized zone there, the DMV, and walked across, was greeted, and I believe that there were some arrangements made. I remember statements that Trump made is that, hey, like, listen, little rocket man, you've got, a button on your desk. I have one too, but mine works. Right? Like,
I can read you from here.
I love that. That's the biggest swing and dip. It's like,
But okay, so what do you think? So that was Trump's response to bluster and stuff like that on a smaller scale. Like, North Korea is way smaller scale than China would be, I think. So Biden said Nancy shouldn't go.
Joe Biden is hiding in a bunker right now because he has.
I don't know. Like, so I don't think so. My personal opinion, Nancy should never have said, or Pelosi, I don't know what to call her, Nancy Pelosi, shouldn't have never have said at this time in juncture, if there are countries that, are going to cause political turmoil, let's not go to them for a bit. Like, if you don't announce that you're going, then no one's going to say, if you go, we're going to fight you. Right. So that was a huge mistake. But once she said she was going, I get it. I'm for that. I don't think any government, I think it would be a mistake for America or even Canada if Justin Trudeau said, and I hate Justin, said he was going to Taiwan, and China said, if you go, we're going to be mad at you. I think Justin has to go.
You got to
go. Has to. At that point, has to. But I also think if you are a political leader, why are you doing it? What's your benefit to go to Taiwan right now?
Well, so I would argue that these political leaders aren't naive to that. As soon as they announce it, they have to go, right?
Yeah.
The issue is that I talk a lot about how the stock market charts itself.
Yeah.
Right. So where we are right now, for those who, the profiteers that kind of follow us along, we've been talking about this, this bear market. We've been in a recessionary market for a long time. Well, over the last week and a half, we've had the largest rally in the stock market in history.
Right.
Week and a half has been the largest rally of the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ in history in the shortest period of time.
Right.
Like, down, right back up.
Yeah.
But what the chart is playing out to being right now is you're creating what's called a double top. And I can pull the chart up here in a second if we want to take a look at this.
Double top.
But you're creating what's called a double top. And what that is where you have a resistance at the top level pricing. It's hit it once, it's come down, it's now coming up to hit it again. Okay. 99. Well, the percentages play that will be a negative price implication after that. Okay. So where we are right now is the charts are setting themselves up for a fall in the economy, right? Okay. In these major sectors. So there's a fall again to happen when charting this. Okay. So I've said to you before is that there's no accident as to why these things occur. They chart, they're planned. A lot of these things happen in a timely manner. So Nancy Pelosi going there having the saber rattling going back and forth justifies the actions of the stock market when they pull back. Okay. So here we are in a recession that the Democrats are literally doing everything they can to not call it a recession, which
you're right. Yeah.
But where's the media on that? Like if
I
Trump
think
can
the conservatives would have probably done the same thing, but you're right. They probably would have been flogging the fact that it is.
One more time. Sorry, I missed the first.
I think Trump, if we were going to recession, I don't know that he would admit that we were deep in recession.
Well, I think the position where we're in right now is that it's pretty transparent that the media is writing the narrative, right? Like,
yeah.
Well, I disagree. So in Trump would have come out and called it a black dog, and they would have come out and said it's an elephant. It doesn't matter what he said, right? It was just the opposite.
The left's media would do that. The right media would say, no, it's a black dog.
And we've talked about this, is that there are far more left-leaning media centers than right by far. So where we have right now is that the definition of a recession for forever has been two quarters of declining GDP, gross domestic product. It's that your nation is slowing down in 6 months, 6 consecutive months of slowdown, okay? It's what it's been for fucking ever.
We got it. Yeah.
And we got it. And they're like, no, it's not a recession. And everyone's looking around the room like, well,
but it is. Yeah.
Right? And like the media people are like, oh no, we got good employment though. And everyone's like, yeah, good employment. Yeah.
Right now, for the moment.
It's a fucking joke.
Yeah.
So this goes back to, I see that the charts matter more than the fundamentals so often on companies, because the traders follow the market, right? They don't follow the daily in and outs of Apple. They don't follow the daily in and outs of any company you want. Tesla. They follow price action, right? So if they know that something big is coming in the next weeks, you will see pricing pull back, right? So that's where you start getting these trends and patterns start to set up. And what I'm seeing now here, and I'll even show what I'll bring it up while we're here.
Let's do it.
I'll share this. So this is the QQQ. Okay. You guys can see that?
I can, yeah.
Okay. So this is what I'm talking about. Let's go back to a 6 months. This is the fall that we've seen.
What is the QQQ?
The QQQ is the NASDAQ.
NASDAQ, okay.
Okay, so let's do the year to, let's do 1 year.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the fall from grace. Okay. This is the highs up here. Okay. Falls down, right? It doesn't just fall off a cliff. It rallies, falls and rallies, falls and rallies. Okay. But what it's doing is it's trading through this big channel.
Right.
Big channel that's occurring right now, right? So when we zoom in here, we're going to take a look at this area right here.
Right.
I'm going to zoom in.
That's when it's changed.
That's where we are now.
You're right.
How's the best way to do this? See, I'm so used to this on my tablet.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we got some wonderful stuff coming up. We got Montana. The week after, we have a gentleman named Ross. Ross? Oh, my God. I can't believe I don't know. I am asking. Let me look. So I don't know him well. A friend of a friend told me about him. He was in radio for years and years and years. Yeah, it's Ross. Years and years and years. Had a successful media business. That'll be next week, 9 o'clock. We also have all the stuff that we do all the time. I'm gonna have some more poetry come in, all the stuff that I write and pictures and stuff. So keep tuned, keep watching us. Like, share, subscribe, tell your friends, get us out there. Where are we at here?
All the things. Okay, so again, here we are going back to June. We see this high in June. Okay, at what does that look like? 35. Let's call it 35 and a half, 36-ish. Okay, so we have this fall down. Okay, then you can see here. This is what I'm talking about as a double top. These are two double tops.
Right.
And what do? Is you see this fall down afterwards. Okay. What we're doing is on a little bit more macro scale. We have this top here. We have the fall down and we're running back up. We have this area here that is now going to create another top.
Right.
And this is where we are planning to run back down into this channel likely. So I see that we're probably going to run back down into the 26, let's call it 27 range from 35 down into 27. Okay. But this has to be these trends. They work off catalysts. Okay. So if we can zoom really tight in on here, this area here. So we're going to do, let's do 1 month. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
This is today. This area here is all today.
Right.
Okay. This is on a 30-minute timeline. What we're doing here is we're seeing at the end of the day, the market is rolling over. Right. We can see this here with the red.
Yeah.
Is it rolling
Yeah.
over? We look down here onto the RSI, your relative strength index. And what's it done? It's hit the overbought area and is rolling over. And this is called your MACD indicator. Okay. It's rolling over and it's crossing the signal line. So what you're seeing here is a rolling over of the NASDAQ. It's a patterned trend that we called was shaping up back in here, right?
Yeah.
We see it roll over now. And now is a perfect time to short the QQQ. You're betting against the NASDAQ. Because I go to people now and I say, do you think that the last 2 weeks has made any big changes in the economic climate from where you were 2 weeks earlier? So the only thing I can think of is, gas prices have slowed down a little bit, right?
Yeah.
You see a little bit less at the pump.
But not enough to make life easy. Just a little bit, enough to say, okay, we're not going to overthrow our government.
Right.
That's about it. Honest to God, it still hurts. It's still hard to pay the bills and stuff, but
right.
It's just you're at the point now where you're not like, okay, I don't hate Canada so much.
Right.
Yeah.
So arguably, the reason why we've had this last week and a half worth of rally is because we had what are called the earnings season. Okay. So every quarter, so 4 times a year, all of the publicly traded companies in the world come with their financials and give a forward-looking statement as to what they think their business has done in that quarter,
right?
Their yearly outlook. Okay. So right now, the quarter is looking backwards through all of the inflation.
Right.
So if you're Apple, okay,
yeah,
and you sell a phone, okay, and you're in a position where everyone has told all of your customers that, hey, you got to get this Apple product right now or they're not going to have it.
Yeah.
Right? You got to go get it right now.
Yeah.
Or it's going to be more expensive. It's all these sorts of things.
Yeah.
Apple has sold all of their products, right? They've been very busy. That's what inflation is people are buying.
Yeah.
It's a euphoric buying, okay? So what happens is now when you get into your earnings at that quarter end, earnings look good, right? Earnings look good. There's no more fucking money.
Right.
There's no more money.
No one's buying phones coming in the future here. Yeah.
The next quarter is going to be a fucking bloodbath.
Right.
What you're seeing now is you're seeing computerized trading algorithms are stepping in and buying right now because the earnings look solid.
Right.
These companies still look efficient. Okay. What we're doing now is that we are floating through a period of time that is not inflationary anymore. It's going to become drastically deflationary. Well,
right.
What does all that mean? Want to buy a cell phone? You can't because you don't have any money.
No.
Right? The iPhone has gotten too expensive. You can't afford it anymore. Now you don't get an iPhone and Apple goes, hey, I'll give it to you 50% off. And you go, no, I'm going to feed my family. I'll give it to you 60% off.
Yeah.
No, I still got to feed my family.
Yeah.
Okay. So what you have now is your forward-looking earnings. People are saying, we see that there's headwinds ahead of us in potential recessionary time, but look at what we did last quarter, and that was supposed to be really bad too.
Right.
And the algorithms are like, buy.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now you get Pelosi. She goes overseas, and she becomes a catalyst instead of the economy. That's a damn win.
Right.
That's why we're in Taiwan.
So now, much like the last, I don't know, couple months, they can say it's because China did whatever.
Mm-hmm.
That's why we're having these problems. Whereas they've been saying it because of Russia and Ukraine. That's why we're having all these problems.
Right. So it's been Putinflation, right?
Yeah, totally.
So now when the Chinese start saber rattling, and a term to look up is called a black flag event. Okay. Mm-hmm. So I would argue that I wouldn't be shocked if you see some sort of geopolitical strife, something. Often these black flag events are often orchestrated. They're preconceived. They understand that there is going to be some sort of outcome from them. Right. And like, so for instance, the war in Ukraine, the Ukrainians were the ones that were shooting at the Russians first. Right. Well, that's the Russian black flag to go in.
Right.
Right. Do you get what I'm saying?
So that's what Russia said, you mean?
Well, but so what? Either way, I'm saying that's the event.
Right.
Right. So the Ukrainians are shooting at us. We're going in to defend ourselves and our people. Right. Like Iraq, like Afghanistan, like everywhere ever. Yeah. You need an event. Okay.
Right.
So what I'm saying is I don't think that you're going to see a World War III catalyst event, but I think you're going to see some bullshit saber rattling because it's going to give the Democrats an exit strategy for the midterms that are coming up.
Right.
Because right now they're dead. They're dead in the water.
For me, I just thought it was an odd time to do what she's doing. Right. And it was very, very, very avoidable. And I just think it just was a huge mistake on her part to even suggest that she was going there. So I could see like what you're saying. If I was a conspiracy guy, definitely that would be a black flag event. Absolutely.
Why does that have to be a conspiracy thing? Like why does that have to be that? When you
it also equally could be that there's some sort of business that she has to do in Taiwan. I have no idea. I don't know because I'm not in the political game. And it is what it is, right? I'm going to go do it because that's what we do. But it also could be an orchestrated event. You could there's always some truth in a great conspiracy theory.
What I'm saying is the only thing that I said that could possibly be construed as conspiracy would be that haven't happened yet, right? Are that the Americans use Nancy Pelosi as a scapegoat in some facet to blame China for X, whether it's a bombing or an invasion or a whatever, right?
Which they're starting to do, I think.
But every episode that the Americans have been in a war over, there has been that event. Like there's nothing conspiratorial about that.
Well, the conspiratorial thing that I was suggesting was that you were saying that Nancy Pelosi was doing it on purpose so that their numbers would improve and that they could blame, right? And not just that she was going to do it and it is what happened. Those are the logical consequences of her actions. That she felt grounded because she had to do some sort of business in Taiwan, which I have no idea. She hasn't come out and said, I'm going to Taiwan for this, really. Like she has said because they support Taiwan, but I don't know what the excessive need was to go right now. I have no idea. Like you and I aren't in the same room right now. Sorry?
You want me to go back and show you the charts?
You and I aren't in the same room right now.
Right.
And we're having a delightful conversation.
Brilliant.
So I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure that their technology is better than us. They probably could have 3D Nancy Pelosi in like the room beside me.
Well, that's the thing. So she is going over to solidify the relationship.
Yeah, totally.
And that to me, and I would argue, the thing that I say all the time is follow the money.
Right.
So if you can figure out why you have to realize, and we've been saying here for a long time that we are in a recession. I think we've been saying it for like fucking 4 months.
It's been a long time. You started saying, not we. I say we because it's Soaring Profits and that's us. But yeah, no, you called this quite a while ago.
Yeah,
absolutely.
So again, being the conspiratorial weirdo apparently with the tin hat on, yet it's a lot of things just keep.
I didn't say you're weird hat. I didn't say you're weird, and I didn't say you're wrong. What I'm saying is that all conspiracy theories have truth in it. And I do believe that the American government definitely has caused strife in countries so they can go and attack. Absolutely. Right. It's happened. Canada's probably done the same thing. Absolutely. Canada's done it on a smaller scale with people in their own country, you know?
So I would argue that the largest geopolitical risk to the United States right now is internal.
Absolutely. Yeah.
If Donald Trump gets elected again in 2024,
very difficult.
I very much believe that could be a fraction of the United States, whereas the Democrats, like if Donald Trump gets elected, that the Democrats don't accept the results, and or vice versa, and therefore you could have a very, very real political fracture in the United States.
Yeah.
So
I am actually hoping that someone gets their shit together and they can find a Democratic leader that both conservatives and liberals can get behind.
AOC is the front runner right now, apparently.
So that's not going to happen. No, there's no way AOC is the front runner just because, but she will not win. She can't.
No way.
Are you kidding? She would rip America apart.
Right.
She totally would.
Right.
She breeds, unfortunately, she breeds hate. Like she really does. She breeds division and hate. And I get some of the issues she talks about are important. Absolutely. But you can talk about those and not breed division.
I can't believe you are not a fangirl
of AOC.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of anyone who breeds division for political gain.
Words are violence.
One of the reasons I don't like Trump.
Words are violence.
Words are no, they're not violence. No, I just think that there are so many things in this world that we can get together and we can solve. But if we're just constantly yelling at each other and saying, this is why you suck, we're never going to solve the many problems we have. But if we could all sit down at a table and we can find a leader that is going to bring conservatives and I'm sorry, Trump's not it. I don't know if you know that. Conservatives and liberals together, because there's conservatives that don't want Trump as a leader either. That if there was a Democratic leader that was center leaning, that wasn't, going to jump and go for all that other stuff that conservatives aren't necessarily interested in, I could see conservatives jumping and voting for that leader. AOC is not that. She's polarizing and she breeds division. And so conservatives will not vote for AOC. Or I can't say her full name. I hear that she used to say she was AOC and now she says she's Cortez, right?
Elemental P.
Something like that. And I don't mean disrespect by doing that. I'm not trying to be funny. I just really don't remember.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yeah.
What I said.
It's kind of like woke. She used to say woke all the time. Everyone's woke, 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 woke. And now it's not. It's something that conservatives say to belittle people.
Right.
And it was always their word. I'm like, that's the funniest thing I've ever heard. Because
it's like anything on that, the flag, anything on the spectrum that they have. Yeah. Any name that was the name 10 years ago, you can't say it now. And that's why I struggle with liberalism, is that for the fact that the goalpost never ceases to continue moving.
So there is that outside fringe, much like there's a conservative outside fringe, and you're right, that pole keeps on moving.
Right.
And
so what right wing
is what I have a problem with. The division is what I have a problem with. If we could stop dividing, there are a lot of people on both conservative and Democratic. In Canada, it's liberal and conservative that feel the same way about the direction Canada should go.
But what right-wing goalpost moves?
What right-wing goalpost moves?
So the left keeps moving their goalpost.
So what did I say? I said that it's similar to the conservatives. So the similarities in the conservatives is that they also have that right-wing fringe that is like very anti a lot of things. And they're very like...
Are you quoting Trudeau in that, or what was that?
I do not quote Trudeau in anything. No, but there is. There is.
With unacceptable views is the quote.
Oh, I didn't even hear. I've never heard him say that. This
Oh,
was.
that was the truckers. They were a fringe minority with
Oh
unacceptable views. You've been indoctrinated already, and you
no.
don't even know it.
Yeah, I don't even know it. It's been like playing in the back of my head. I guess I don't. No, I'm not talking about the truckers. I'm not talking about the truckers.
No, but that's what I'm saying though. Is that what
I'm
is
talking
the
about the people
goalpost on
that
the right?
Sorry.
What is the goalpost on the right that keeps moving?
So there's not a moving goalpost. It's a
Right.
firm goalpost in which they adamantly and sometimes violently try to uphold. And it's not a logical goalpost. Like the things that they want, you know, like no gay marriage. Well, that's ridiculous. Why is that even a thing? Or the abortion ideas. It's none of my business.
So who
You go do you.
who in any conservative political entity has voted to remove gay marriage?
I'm talking about much like the left group that doesn't have that kind of power. I'm talking about the right group that doesn't have that kind of power. They're in the political scheme and they talk about it and yell about it and scream about it.
But you
and I are talking about two different things. You're saying
the vice president of the United States sitting the other day in a room where she's addressing people, and she addresses herself as her name, she, her. I'm wearing a blue suit, and I'm standing at the front of the room. And these are policies that you're seeing in higher education for a diversified group. So she's using her pronouns now. She's then looking at a disability facet of identifying who she is by what she's wearing in that. Those are far left-wing ideologies that are now the vice president. Like this isn't at UCLA Berkeley that they're doing this and trying to feel good for everybody. This is now the vice president of the United States that is bringing this policy forth to the community. And she was laughed at. Like, yes, every camera is pointed at you. You are the vice president. You don't have, like, Bill Gates doesn't walk in the room and go, hi, my name is Bill Gates. He, him, wearing a shitty t-shirt, a hoodie, right?
Oh,
I'm wearing a hoodie, right?
And jeans. Yeah.
And I am addressing you, right? Like these are lefty policies. And that's what I'm saying is that.
What's your point? I don't understand, because there are right policies like gun ownership and not wanting. You can't say that there aren't conservatives who are elected conservatives that are against gay marriage.
So where conservatism falls is they fall on the Constitution.
They do fall on the Constitution, but I'm talking about the fringes. I'm talking about, you're saying that AOC is a fringe, which I kind of agree.
I'm talking about the vice president of the United States.
Well, the vice president of the United States is different, and those are the policies that the people who elect her want. They want her to state her pronouns. They want to, for disability reasons, for blind people, they want some sort of description of what she's looking like. And that's why we always have an interpreter in anything political. We have a sign language interpreter. Right?
Could you imagine what 99% of the world sees when you have the vice president, Kamala Harris, stand there and identify herself, she, her, right? Yeah. The rest of the world doesn't use this stuff, right? We do in Western first world societies. There's no one else in the world that sits there and go, I wonder what gender she is. It's not a thing anywhere else in the world. It's not a thing.
No, but it doesn't matter that it's any other. It's our world. It's our country. And in our country, that's what we want. So therefore, you're a big proponent that America should be America. Well, in America, the people who have elected her want her to state her pronouns because that's important to them.
But
so that's what she's doing. It shouldn't matter that Germany is like, they're saying she. Who cares? That's your whole point in life, is that we shouldn't care what other countries want. So she's doing what she's supposed to be doing, which is the people who elected her want her to say pronouns, and rightly so.
But that's the goalpost. That's the goalpost that you can't get down to policies that really mean anything when you've got that, because you're done before you walk in the room.
So I don't think that's a bad goalpost. What I think is a bad goalpost is the fact that right now these are not the issues that we need to be arguing about. These are not like, I don't want laws coming in right now about this stuff. Eventually, we need laws for that. We need to take care of that. But right now, people are going to starve very soon. We are on the cusp of people starving. We're very close to it. It's going to happen. People are going to lose homes very soon. They're all talking about the market dropping in housing, and my house isn't going to be worth what it is. Fortunately, I've paid most of it off, so it's not going to hurt me. But if I owe $1 million and my house is now worth $700,000, I'm at a $300,000 deficit.
New home prices in the United States. New home prices, new build home prices are down 20% already.
Right? Yeah.
We haven't started, folks.
We're just starting. No. And you were talking about Apple. So Apple sold all their phones, had a great quarter. So now they're faced with the fact that no one's, you can have it for 60%. You're going to have it for 50%. Immediately, I think, what's the point of building a better, because every year they come out with, our camera's better, our speaker's better, our blah, blah, blah is better. Well, if I'm not selling the phones I have, why would I have a tech side building the next phone? Right. So I'm going to get rid of that tech side. We're going to slow that. We're still going to, work on it, but we're going to slow that down because I don't have to put out a brand new phone every year because I'm not going to sell them. I'm just going to stockpile them.
And that's what you're seeing.
And
you're seeing layouts.
Yeah.
Right. And the reason why you're seeing these the earnings up is because their numbers are down. The employment numbers are down. So you got to sell a lot of iPhones to pay an engineer.
That's right.
Like to cover
a lot of money.
Yeah. If you've got 10,000 of them that you're not hiring or laying off, that's huge in your margin, and especially in an inflationary time. The problem is that the market is forward looking, but as forward looking as they can see. Right. And right now, where we are is that the information that they have garnered and have taken away from this earnings catalog is very short-sighted. Right. They're not taking into account the larger macroeconomic position at a 1,000-foot level. Right. Yeah. They're saying that, hey, look, the market is still strong. Look at the numbers we just put out. The problem is that it's coming. And the money that's going in there right now, what I'm terrified of and why I'm fairly liquid still in my investments is that this is going to be, again, what we call a bear trap. Okay. So this is a bull trap. So when you have that run up in pricing, that's again where the algos see retail pouring money in and they ride that 15 or 20% uptick and get out. Right. So now you and me and all of the retail investors out there that don't.
You're still there.
Well, yeah, you're stuck holding the bag.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's what I'm saying now is that this was a surprising uptick. I don't think a lot of people expected the earnings to be where they were, but I promise you it's the last quarter of it.
Oh, yeah. Like the next quarter will not have earnings like this. No. People aren't going to be buying cars. They're not going to be buying phones. They're going to be buying food.
So when you like something that really hits home for people is that, okay, so your car in your driveway that you wanted to buy a car in the last little while, a $30,000 car was a $40,000 car.
That's right.
Because there's no cars. So that $10,000 in profit is a 25% increase year over year.
Yeah.
When you look at that on the bottom line, you go, holy shit, man, we're really killing it. The problem is that no one's going to fucking buy cars.
No. Well, so a real story. So my mechanic, I gave him my car. He gave me money for that car. He fixed my car for it. So there was someone else who needed a car, couldn't buy one. So they literally, you knew how bad my car was, literally put thousands of dollars of work into it and sold it for quite a bit of money.
Right.
Made some money off it. And I'm like, it wasn't worth, like I told him, hey man, you can put it into a smash up derby. It's perfect for that. Engine's good.
Yeah.
Slam it in there. It needed so much work. I couldn't even, when he told me, I'm like, why? Well, they can't find a car and they wanted a Honda, and that it is what it is. That so we fixed it up, we made it running, and he was willing to pay.
Yeah.
I'm like, that is crazy. Because it was basically my throwaway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not a thing anymore. Like you wouldn't spend that much money on that car.
See, now that like you can touch that, you can feel it. That's a cause and effect relationship, right?
Yeah.
That's where we are now. So come end of September when we get this next quarter. So I expect inflation coming in hot again. So the last inflation read, so this is the CPI that we've been talking about for a long time.
Right.
That was the highest inflation read we had in 40 years. Okay.
Right.
I think it's 8.6%.
Okay.
Right? Which is bullshit. It's more like 26 or 36%.
Right.
To be honest with you. The summer is when people spend money on the vacation, and they are much more loosey goosey.
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the Fed doesn't have a meeting in August. They don't do a CPI in August. So you're going to go July, August, and then we're going to get a reading in September for 2 months.
Yeah.
And September is going to be through the fucking roof. And
Right.
the Fed is going to come out and they're going to go, we need to do something about inflation right now. Oh my God.
Yeah.
And they're going to do something about inflation. Right? So inflation's going to get whacked.
Yeah.
Interest rates are going to go way up. Inflation's going to get whacked. And the economy is already going to be on its fucking knees.
Right.
So now you have the stagflation of the economy where you have still inflation's going to be running, but there's going to be no money. So now you end up going through a stagflation period, which I think will be fairly quick, and back into a deflationary period where now Apple's got to sell for cheap. Now that car that was 40, originally 30, is now 20.
Yeah. But you still owe the 30, 40.
You're upside down in your deals. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying now is that the next earnings, when Chrysler comes out and says, hey, that $30,000 car, the consumer's weak right now, we're selling it at a 10 or 15% loss, right? Yeah. Well, we got to pass that on. And our next quarter is not really looking that much better either. So we need the Fed to step in and ease monetary policy. See how this all starts?
Yeah.
Right. So that's where we are right now, is we are in this fucked, damned if you do, damned if you don't point right now, because we've let it get slow to hand. And
if you can find your niche, you can make a very great business during this time.
Yeah.
But
short the QQQ
market, you want to know what you're doing.
Right. Short the QQQ. Yeah. Let's do it right now, actually. Give me 10 seconds. Let's short
the QQQ. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's short the Q.
I don't have any power in that.
So we are going to sell. We'll just put this in for an initial one until I find my top. We will hit it here at, so the purchase will come in at, so I'm going to sell. So I'm borrowing a share at, that should click in the morning, 35.34.
Yeah.
I'm going to have a take profit at its weak point, let's say down.
Because if it drops, you make money. It's the opposite. It's the flip.
Right.
Because you're betting that it's going to fail. You're saying that this share is going to drop and it's going to lose money, and I'm going to bet on that. It's like placing a bet that the can's going to fall off the table. If it falls off the table, I win.
Yep.
That's what you're doing here.
I'm saying right now that the QQQ, so this is the triple QQQ. So this is a 3-time leveraged ETF.
Right.
So every $1 the NASDAQ moves, I move $3. Okay. So
yeah.
for every $1 up, the NASDAQ goes up. This moves $3. So it's a 3 times leveraged ETF, which is an electronically traded fund. Okay. So this is my sell. So I'm shorting it. Okay. The QQQ. I have a stop loss. This is if, oh shit, I was wrong. Right.
You're skyrocketed instead of dropping. Yeah.
Right. So I've got that set above my threshold here.
Yeah.
This is my resistance from the top that I've mapped out. And I'm going to put my take profit down here. So that is at almost 24%. And I'm putting it down here at this touch point that was support previously.
Right.
Okay. So where I see this rolling through over the next couple of days is probably something like this, maybe a little rally here and then down. Right. Okay. This right now, this takes us into, wow, if we want to get really technical, probably in and or around my birthday.
Nice. That'd be a nice little gift.
Yeah.
Not a lot of money, but it'd be all right.
So that's one share, right?
Yeah.
So that's $35. So if
Yeah.
I'm right, I get $8 more. If I'm wrong, I lose $4. So it's basically, it's basically a 2-to-1 ratio. Okay.
Yeah.
Now this is a deal that I'm fairly confident in my thesis. You've heard my thesis. You understand approximately what I'm trying to say, and then kind of going from there, right?
Yeah.
So I would argue that my thesis is pretty strong. That the weak rally that we've had has been somewhat unexpected, and that we're already starting to see the RSI and the MACD start to roll over. And I don't think there's enough retail investment out there right now that's not kind of like, remember we talked about this, like you don't burn money you don't have. There's not a lot of retail out there that's like, hey, I'm willing to throw 100 grand into the market right now.
Right. No.
So there's going to be a lot of, hesitancy, right?
Yeah.
So where I see that rolling is rolling over, heading back down, testing, especially with that double top resistance, testing those lows that we've seen before. Take that. That's what's called scalp trading, right? So I'm going to take that scalp off the table, and then I can set up for a larger, more easily positioned upside for the long. So I'm short right now. I'm betting against it. Then when it comes back and hits a support level instead of a resistance, then I go long. And that's where I'm willing. Longs are easier to ride, right?
Right.
Because you're betting on Team America on a long. I'm betting against Team America today.
Yeah.
That's not a game you want
to normally do. No. Yeah.
So I'm betting on Team America that eventually America will get their shit together.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking forward to finding out if this works on your birthday. We'll check her out. We'll have a little podcast about it. The profiteers will be like, he was right again. The prophet.
Soaring. Yeah.
The prophet Pat.
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, folks,
I think it's a good time.
Yeah. You wrap it up.
Yeah, doing the same thing you are, I think. Great minds think alike. No, I all the information. It's funny how it always the same way you say. Like we started with Nancy Pelosi and like a very real possible threat. Like there's that threat of war again, politically speaking. Why is she doing things? And then it all goes back to the market again. And looking at all the things that you're bringing up the charts and stuff, you can really see the reasons why people do things. Absolutely.
100%.
It's fantastic, man. I think what you do is something that other people can't, and I really appreciate it because I learn a lot. I learn a lot from you, man, and I think it's freaking awesome. I enjoy our conversations. Okay, canceled. Thank you very much for enjoying us. It was good. I hope you see us tomorrow.
I hope that's our clip, like when YouTube throws this up, that it's like.
If it is, I'll just let it happen.
It is.
Why not? Yeah. If anything, it'll get us views because they'll be like, "Can you believe this? Oh my god,
this guy,
masculinity."
Right. Well, folks, as always, thank you so much for joining us, Patrick. Let's make some money together, folks.
And James, let's heal our mind.